Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Jason Wright Show, Freestyle Friday. So today I want to go over an interview between Brad Pitt and Dax Shepard on the Armchair Expert, which is Dax Shepard's podcast. Uh, for just so you know, I'm a big Brad Pitt fan. I think not only is Brad Pitt an incredibly handsome, good-looking dude, the Tyler Durden physique he had in Fight Club is something I will never have, but will always aspire to. But not only that, Brad Pitt's just one of these guys that's like so unbelievably gifted with good looks, but also an incredible amount of talent. I know that a lot of you may not agree with that, but I think he's actually a very, very, very good actor. And in this interview, he and Dax, they started talking about one of my favorite novels of all time, Atlas Shrugged. And it was interesting because I had always wondered what a leftist would think if they read Atlas Shrugged. I read it at a very young age. And I remember thinking to myself, what Ayn Rand has done here has just explained through a fictional tale exactly the problems with overregulation, with the do-gooders of society, with overreaching big government, so many things that are thematic in today's day and age. And I remember, when I read it almost 25 years ago, I guess, that things where I could see the fingerprints of our government like reaching back in time and just kind of subtly presenting themselves throughout this story. And then now, fast forward to today, having lived through COVID and all that we've gone through, it's like it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then whenever you've got things like DEI and all the rest that has just been like front and center in our lives for the past going on, almost a decade now, I think the book is more relevant than ever. And so I always wondered, what does a leftist think when they read Atlas Shrugged? And they start out by talking about the Fountainhead. So I'm going to talk about Fountainhead just really briefly. So I actually loved Fountainhead, which is another Ayn Rand novel. And by the way, Ayn Rand grew up in communism. She was, I think she might have been from the Ukraine. I don't think she was from Russia, but she was from somewhere in the Soviet Union, had become an American refugee escaping from communism. And so she had a really, really interesting take on society. And essentially, she was all about individualism. She was all about we're better off if people are pursuing their own selfish goals.
Rand's philosophy looks something like this. It starts with the idea that reality is objective. The universe is what it is, not what we want it to be, and wishing otherwise won't make it so. Next, it states that our reason is all we have and all we need for understanding the world around us. And if reason is an absolute, we can't accept contradictions. It also says, your highest moral purpose should be the pursuit of your own selfish happiness. Now, selfishness can be misinterpreted. It doesn't mean exploit others for your own gain. It means realize your highest potential by pursuing rational ends and live in harmony with others by respecting their right to their own life and happiness. The result of this philosophy is a life of reason, purpose, self-esteem, a philosophy for living on earth.
If you know that this life is all that you have, wouldn't you make the most of it?
And as a result of that, the rest of us, will benefit from the selfishness and the greed of Elon Musk, of Jeff Bezos, of Mark Zuckerberg, fill in the blank, of Steve Jobs. These people pursuing their greatest and highest ambitions. Ben Shapiro is about to put out a book called Lions and Scavengers. And what you see in this book is that same thing. You have in that society then, as we do now, you have lions, the hunters, the gatherers, the creators, the producers, the inventors, the innovators, and you have the scavengers who essentially feed off of the work and the toil and the genius of these people, and then try to tear down the society in which these things were created, invented, and innovated. What I really want to talk about is Brad Pitt and his complete mistake on Atlas Shrugged. It is so he so misses it, and I can almost guarantee you when he says that whenever he first read it, it kind of fell apart. I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. I bet he got it, but now that he is the A-list of A-listers in Hollywood. He is a Hollywood elite, if ever there was one. He cannot say he likes a book like Atlas Shrugged. You just can't do it. You cannot say in Hollywood you like Atlas Shrugged, especially if you're Brad Pitt. You can't. So let's watch a little bit about that. And I'm going to tell you why I think he totally gets this wrong. He completely misunderstands what Ayn Rand is trying to say. So let's get into Brad Pitt's complete mistake of Atlas Shrugged. Let's go.
Had you read Fountainhead already?
I had not read Fountainhead.
Okay. Let's talk about Fountainhead for 1 second.
Okay. I'm not a big fan, by the way, of Fountainhead.
You're not.
No.
I, 20 years ago, read some interview with you.
Yeah.
I swore it said you liked Fountainhead. I'm like,
I think I did then.
yeah. This is what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm going to check that book out. This is his favorite book.
See, this gives me a little insight, by the way, of why I think that Brad Pitt probably liked Atlas Shrugged at one point when he read it when he was younger, is because he says that he really liked Fountainhead at one time. And so let me just give you a little bit about a little bit of insight on what Fountainhead is about, because it's a phenomenal novel also. So you get this main character who is an architect. Supposedly Howard Roarke, this architect, is based on Frank Lloyd Wright. So for those of you who don't know anything about Frank Lloyd Wright was this amazing architect who brought the mid-century modern architecture to the forefront of American architecture. So all these mid-century modern homes that are so in vogue now and that are so cool are mostly all Frank Lloyd Wright knockoffs. Fun fact, I actually lived in a home that was designed by an architect named Larry Martin, who was an apprentice to Frank Lloyd Wright. And it was so cool. It wasn't as contemporary as most of Frank Lloyd Wright's houses, but one of the things he would do is he would make his houses kind of one with the nature that was around it. And so this house that we had, it was like tucked into the woods, and they only removed enough trees to build the house. I mean, I could walk out on my front porch and reach my arm out and touch this just massive oak tree, and it was amazing. And for those of you who are wondering, well, that's stupid. Why would you have an oak tree that close to the house? What about the roots jacking up the foundation? Well, what they did was what's called a floating slab that accounted for that. But it was kind of dangerous and kind of scary thinking that big tree could fall over on my house at any time. But nevertheless, it was a cool house. It was the girls' favorite house that we had when they were growing up, and has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. But Frank Lloyd Wright was very much an individualist, and he was always trying to come up with something original. Well, Howard Roarke in the Fountainhead was the same way. He was tired of all of this architecture that was essentially just a reproduction of classical. That's what neoclassical, new classical architecture was. And by the way, I'm not an architectural, I don't know anything about architecture at all. This is all from that book. It was what it taught me. And by the way, when you read this book, you start to see just these Greek ripoffs on everything. And it makes some of the biggest and most beautiful houses that you've ever seen, it makes them look kind of cheesy when you start to understand where a lot of the influence that's in those houses came from. And I learned it through this book. And what you see is that Howard Roarke, all he wants to do is something original. Now, the thing I don't like about him, and most people will tell you this, I talked about this with one of my podcast guests a while back, talking about this book in particular, is that Howard Roarke is so unbelievably selfish and unyielding in his, not principles, but just what he thinks the way things should be with regard to architecture, that he has no concept of the free markets, in that you do have a customer. And it's not just all about you and your art. He's not an artist. He's actually trying to, I mean, yeah, he's an artist to a certain extent as an architect, but you're doing a commissioned piece of work. So what he's saying is just, it wouldn't work in the real world. I mean, I guess you could to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, you've got to create things that people want. Nevertheless, you hear Dax Shepard and them talk about burn it all down. Well, I'm not going to give you any spoilers because I hope you go read The Fountainhead. I'll just say this. Remember that if you decide that you want to destroy the artist that you love just because they will not make the changes to their art that you want, at the end of the day, they can just get rid of the art, or they can get rid of themselves, and you'll never have it ever again because it's theirs. And you have to maintain that understanding that at the end of the day, they're the one with the talent, not you, and it's not yours to scavenge. Okay? So there's that. So they get to talking about Atlas Shrugged. And I want you to hear what Brad Pitt says, because he so misses what happens with John Galt and all the other producers. I wish I could remember the big steel magnet's name. I'll think of it in a minute. That is basically Dagny Taggart and this big steel magnet that essentially they are up against the federal government. They're trying to conduct business, and no matter what obstacles the government puts in their way for the benefit of the collective, they still will overcome it. They just refuse to give up and to go away. And I'll pick up on that theme after we hear Brad Take's horribly stupid, ignorant, and misguided take on Atlas Shrugged.
I read it and I was like, oh yeah, Howard Roarke. I want to be Howard Roarke.
Yeah.
Like, I'm right. No matter what happens, it's just proven I'm right.
Dax, you miss it. Howard Roarke doesn't give a damn about being right. He doesn't care if he's right. All he cares about is what he believes is art and what he wants to use his talents for. He doesn't have to be right because he doesn't care if he's right. He doesn't think there is a right or wrong. He only believes that his art is his and it should be exhibited in a certain way. And if you like it, fine. If you don't, fine. He doesn't care. So it's not it's wrong to say that it makes you feel like, it's like, I didn't think that at all. What I thought was, and not just, I'm not saying that Dax is wrong because I thought something differently. What I'm saying is I believe that what Ayn Rand is showing is that the most important thing is to be true to oneself, is to not yield to the conformists, the what is in vogue today, that you just take your art and you whore it out because you can make money off of it. Because there is someone else that's in this, that's in the story that essentially starts out, he's at college with Howard Roarke, and he becomes basically the celebrated architect, young wonderkin. He gets all the awards, becomes the biggest architect in New York, but he does it by being a sellout. It's kind of like the pop singer that was once really true to their art and would write songs that were soulful from the heart. But then the record company just says, yeah, we don't want any more of that. We just want you, and we want those riffs, and we want you to just go out there and we want you to sell albums. And they go, fine. I'm your Huckleberry. I'm your whore. And that's what the book is about. It's not so much about, I have to be right. I'm right. I'll prove I'm right. No, it's like, I'll prove that I don't care. I will starve. And that's what Howard Roarke almost does. He's like, I'll starve before I compromise my integrity. I'll starve before I sell out and jump into the matrix. I will starve. I will be nothing. I don't need the accolades. I don't need the awards. I don't even need the commission. I don't need the money. I'd rather starve to death and go work as a laborer, which he does, than have my talent hoard out and just become a part of the matrix and become a conformist like all the other architects that are trying to make it. So it's not about him being right or wrong. And so that's where these two guys, they just completely misunderstand Ayn Rand and what she is trying to convey, because that's the society we live in now. Look at the conformists in society and look at the lengths they will go to be accepted. They will compromise common sense. They will completely deny truth. They will deny everything to conform, and that's why right now, what we're going through and what we really went through in like 20 to 23 was just all these people just marching in line like 1983, 1984. It was crazy. And we still see it. That's what Ayn Rand was trying to show, is these figures, these characters, they just refused to conform. you know who Howard Roarke or John Galt would be the sprinter running up in the famous Apple commercial that throws the hammer and crashes the screen at Big Brother, kind of that 1984 commercial that was so huge at the Super Bowl. That's who these guys are. They're like, no, we will not conform. And even if we never get to perform our art again, it's ours and we get to decide. And if you want it, fine, we'll perform, but you're gonna have to understand, we will only perform our art based on, I mean, it's like, can you imagine Bob Dylan, that movie that just came out with Complete Unknown? I haven't seen it yet. And I'm not a Dylan fan, but that's kind of the thing that made Dylan Dylan, was that he was not interested in what was popular. He just sang the songs he wanted to sing. Pearl Jam, one of my favorite bands of all time. They make gazillions of dollars by only doing the stuff that their fans want. They write music for their fans that reflects their fans' taste and what Eddie Vedder and his bandmates, what they think is important. They're not going to go into some studio and let some studio heads say, hey, no, Eddie, guys, we don't want to hear any more of that. Quit with the whole stuff that we heard during the early grunge days and 10 and Vitology, all that stuff. We're over that. No more Yield, no more Corduroy, no more Even Flow. Come on. We want something that we want you to do a collab with Swiftie. Eddie Vedder and Taylor Swift. Wow. Could you imagine? Eddie Vedder would be like, yeah, there's no way I'm doing that, man. I would rather, I'd probably rather, no, I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. There's no way you're going to get Eddie Vedder to do that. That's who these guys are. So anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
That's a very appealing
For people
archetype
who
when you're
haven't
young.
read it, what is he like?
Howard Roarke is basically Frank Lloyd Wright, right? That's the kind of model.
Well, the idea is model on, Ayn Rand modeled it off Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah, so he would design things for people, but he wasn't really interested in what they wanted. He was a genius, and he would come in and he would build something for you.
Let me show you what you want.
Got
Yes.
it. Yeah.
It's his vision. You know, certainly people would be against it, but when it was all over, he would be right. And I think when you're 20, you're like,
True.
yeah, man, that's
Validation.
Yes.
I was right.
Yeah.
that's all you want.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm a
And-
genius.
And there was also this idealism of, like, she came from socialism and this idea of an individual voice and supporting the individual voice, I think, meant a lot to her.
Mhm.
And I think is the basis behind this. And so as a young person, you read the idealism because, spoiler alert, he'll burn it all down if you take his thing and corrupt it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there was no group sport in it. So in this day and age, blowing up buildings is not really
It's not cool.
Yeah.
not the course you want to take.
There's other ways to handle it,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so you already had loved architecture. So yeah, if you already loved
Yeah.
architecture and you're in your 20s and you read that
Yeah.
book, it's like, this
Yeah.
thing was written
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Then did you read Atlas Shrugged?
Yes.
Yeah.
And James Galt, what is it? Galt.
John Galt, not James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it and I just thought, and then I went,
Yeah, it fell apart for me reading that.
I know. I know so many people love this book, but for me, it was like, we're special and we're going to keep our specialness to us. And I don't know. It just didn't.
Yeah.
All right, here's where I'm going to try to keep my cool and not just really go on some just tirade. No, it was not about them saying we're special, we're going to keep it ourselves. What it was like, we're special and we're not going to let the people that are losers, that are not special, strip us of that which we have that is special. We're not going to be used. We're not going to be abused. We're not going to conform. We're not going to just do things because you shift regulations and all these, no matter all you losers that can't build, that can't create, that can't innovate, that can't do the things that we can do. I'm not going to just give my labor to you and my creativity to you only to have you bastardize it. And I'm not going to have you. Okay, look, I'm about to get kind of political, but not really. So just disclaimer, go ahead, move on to the next video. But one of my biggest frustrations, and this is on both sides of the aisle, by the way. One of my biggest frustrations is watching members of Congress hold hearings and they've got some just unbelievably talented business leader that they're talking to or about. One such instance was whenever Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it might not be, it doesn't have to be in a hearing, just in general, when she starts bashing Amazon, because remember there was a big deal about Amazon was going to build a big distribution center or something like that in her district, and she essentially ran them off. And I'm like, how, in what world does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tell Jeff Bezos how he should run Amazon? Look at not only the convenience that Amazon has created for all of us that use it. And I guarantee you, AOC orders stuff through Amazon. And there's nothing wrong with that. Even if she does, I mean, look, we do hypocritical things all the time. We yell against, I gripe and complain against companies whose clothes I wear. Okay. It's like, I get it. So I'm not bashing her for that. But it's not just that. It's like, we talk about he doesn't pay his fair share, or he doesn't do this, doesn't do that. First of all, how many taxpayers has Jeff Bezos created? I can't remember what the last employment account. Let's just see, how many employees does Amazon have? Okay. As of December 31st, 2024, Amazon employed, wait for it, 1,556,000 people globally, encompassing full-time, part-time, and seasonal roles. Jeff Bezos, the company he created, that AOC is constantly bashing, they can't stand that he's a billionaire and that he does silly things with his money, and okay. He employs 1,556,000 people. They say he doesn't pay his fair share in taxes. Well, how many of these 1.5 million people pay tax? How many taxes? How many taxpayers has he created? And then on top of that, in his pursuit of that, and not only is he doing something good by hiring these people, how handy was Amazon during the pandemic? How handy is Amazon right now? How nice is it that small business owners now have a global distribution center thanks to Amazon for their products that they once didn't have? And yet you have members of Congress who have never created a job, have never created one employee. Bezos has created 1.5 million. AOC has not created one, but she's going to tell him what he should do with his money, how much he should pay in taxes, how he should run Amazon. That is maddening. And so if Amazon existed in Atlas Shrugged, while the lawmakers just continued to figure out how to raise taxes on Amazon, raise regulation, make it harder and harder for them to make money, it wouldn't be Jeff Bezos saying, it's all mine, I'm so good and I'm taking it away, as Brad Pitt suggests. No, it would be him finally saying, you know what? Screw it. 1.5 million people, go work somewhere else. I'm shutting this thing down. Now, Amazon's a publicly traded company, so that wouldn't happen. But imagine if it was still just a private company, he owned it, and he just decided, I'm out. That's what happens in Atlas Shrugged. The producers, the lions, as Ben Shapiro in his new book calls them, get so sick of the scavengers that they just say, fine. You people don't appreciate what we're doing for your society? You people don't appreciate Henry Ford's assembly line? You people don't appreciate Elon Musk's rockets that allow us to carry payloads into outer space and go rescue our astronauts from the space station? You people don't appreciate the advances and innovations in electric vehicles and clean energy that these capitalists and these innovators and these inventors are creating? You don't appreciate it? And one by one, what happens in Atlas Shrugged, these people just start disappearing, going away. Not because of what Brad Pitt said, we're special and we're just going to keep it to ourselves. No, they're just like, we're not going to continue doing it for people that abuse it and can't stand us. I mean, what a novel concept. And they just say, why would we keep doing all of this stuff? We're smart, we're bright, and we're not appreciated. In fact, we're punished for our success. We're punished for our abilities. So if this is the society in which we live, why would we stay here? Why won't we just let those people who have been scavengers and have been leeching off us, if we go away, they can leech no more because they can't create it. All they know how to do, and this is what happens right now, the scavengers don't know how to create anything. They only know how to punish, manipulate, and take from those who do create. And so that is what made me so exercised whenever I heard Brad Pitt say that, because it had nothing to do with the book. It wasn't about these guys thinking they were so special that they just weren't going to share. No, it was like, special or not, I'm not going to be treated like some $2 whore. I'm out. If you're gonna punish me for my talents, then I'm out. I'll go create a whole nother society where talent and merit is appreciated. And you scavengers, have at it. Eat your banquet that you couldn't cook yourself. Eat your banquet full of beautiful foods that you could never, ever recreate. And when it's all gone, we'll sit back and watch you starve. That's what they said. Let's continue.
Similar theme, I guess. Like,
It was all about individualism.
yeah.
But it was also this entitlement to just that our opinion is right and we're best and we're going to keep it to ourselves because you don't deserve us. You know, this
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know.
Again, Brad Pitt, smart guy, probably a smart guy, but a great actor, which, by the way, if you have not seen Snatch, the Guy Ritchie movie where he plays the piker, I mean, the accent that he created for that movie, unbelievable.
Can't really understand much of what is being said.
You tell me. Come about the caravan.
Mr. O'Neill,
Fuck, man. Can't be Mickey.
It's not Irish. It's not English.
how are you?
Fair, the Welshman can't just for the horses, you know that.
It's just pikey.
Fuck me. Just look at the size of it. How big are you?
So good. But right here where he says, we're going to keep it to ourselves because you don't deserve us. No, they didn't deserve these guys. And that's what you'll find out in the book. It's like, they didn't. They did not deserve the geniuses of the time, the industrialists who were building the country and creating the jobs for them, creating innovations for them, creating an easier, better life for them. They didn't deserve them because they continued to punish them at every turn. So it wasn't just like Jeff Bezos or Musk or whomever, fill in the blank, any of the talented people that we've seen over the years that have created amazing products and services that have made our lives easier, saying, man, this is ridiculous. These people don't deserve my genius. No, they'll say, no, I'll give you my genius in exchange for your money. That's how I'm going to become wealthy. I'm going to trade my genius for your money. And you're going to say, you know what, your genius is worth my money. And the market will determine how much that genius is worth. Sam Walton decided that I'm going to figure out a way to sell products across this country cheaper than anybody else through his Walmart stores. And we all decided we love that. We're going to give you our money because we love going there and being able to buy everything from a bag of sugar to a pair of socks to a lawnmower to a water hose to some aspirin and a t-shirt, because you have somehow figured out a way to do it cheaper. So here's my money. I'll keep coming back. And Sam said, I know it's talent, it's genius that got me here. Some of it was just probably good common sense, but either way, he didn't stop. I guarantee you, Sam Walton didn't think to himself, you know what, these people don't deserve this. Shut this thing down. This is stupid. I'm going to keep it to myself. That's not it, Brad Pitt. Imagine Brad Pitt, see, this is the thing. What if there were regulations put in place that said, Brad, look, dude, I'm sorry. You're just too good of an actor. So every third sentence, you're going to have to speak in Pig Latin in a different voice. We're going to have to put some makeup on you to make you not quite so pretty because you're just a really pretty man. And we're going to need you to gain 20 pounds because it's just not right that you should make other people feel bad about how they look. So we're going to have to adjust your appearance, your talent, your gift. Now, if a director did that over and over and over to Brad Pitt, if that was the new regulations that no one can be as pretty as Brad Pitt, on the silver screen. And so therefore they altered him. They even used CGI to alter him in every movie. And it never really looked like Brad because he's just too pretty and it's not fair. And Brad Pitt just decided, I'm out. I'm not doing this. Or what about whenever he's with a director? Now, maybe Brad Pitt's the type of actor that just, no matter what the director says, he is going to jump. He is going to dance. Maybe that's the way he is. I doubt it because Brad Pitt's a really good actor. And then he decided, you know what? Scorsese, whoever Guy Ritchie, whoever's directing him at that time, if you don't appreciate my acting ability and the way I'm interpreting this character, I'm out. I mean, you're just abusing, you're just wasting my talent. I'm not going to do it. Now, would Brad Pitt be saying, I'm just so special, you all don't deserve me? I'm right. I'm the one I'm not going to let you all, I'm going to keep it all to myself. No, he's saying, look, I've got talent, I've got principles, and you're abusing them, and I'm not going to have it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm walking. Get someone else in here to do this role. That's what these guys were doing. He completely misses the point of Atlas Shrugged, and it just infuriates me. One of the best novels ever written.
Compromise would be a very ugly word for
Yes.
her or any of those books.
Right.
Yeah. Now, is this true?
Yes, Dax, that is correct. Compromise is an ugly word to these people because they have principles, which is, I get it. You're in Hollywood. I mean, what principles do these folks have these days? I mean, it's, and I think just by and large, principles are in short supply in all of modern society these days. But as it relates to these characters, these weren't just average Joes. These were absolute geniuses. Going back to Frank Lloyd Wright. So Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the first jobs he took was designing track houses, just kind of modern little cookie cutter houses. And it drove him crazy. And he didn't want to do it, but he needed the money. And so on the side, he started taking commission projects to do like his own designs. And if I'm not mistaken, the builder that he was working for fired him. But it was just, if he hadn't done the individual designing on the side, his side hustle of getting to design projects he really liked, then it was going to drive him crazy. And you have to ask yourself, so how does that turn out? Is it the conformist that we love and we really end up admiring? I mean, Leonardo da Vinci was not a conformist. He was a Renaissance man. Henry Ford, with all of his warts and foibles and, maybe some Nazi sympathizing going on, he wasn't a conformist. There's very few conformists in Brad Pitt's line of work. Marlon Brando, not a conformist. Sean Penn, who he mentions in this interview, Sean Penn, I don't agree with Sean Penn on many things, but I'll agree with most critics that he's one of the best actors of my generation. He's a little older than me, but man, so good. And by the way, here's a little tidbit. I bet you've probably never seen The Pledge. And if you haven't seen The Pledge, it stars probably my favorite actor of all time, Jack Nicholson, plays the lead. And I think I've got this right, that was Sean Penn's first movie to direct. And I think it's got Robin Penn, right? I think it was his wife at the time. It's not a feel-good story, but it's good. And Sean Penn, another old school Sean Penn movie that I bet a lot of you have not seen is Bad Boys. Man, my brother and I used to love watching Bad Boys. But I don't think you would ever, I think we would all agree that there's probably been roles where Sean Penn talked to a director and said, yeah, I'm not doing that. You're not going to take my talent and use it in that way. I heard an interview with Tom Cruise here recently where he said that that's one of the things he always does, is that ultimately every performance he does, it's his decision. Now, I'm sure that it's like he's saying, and I don't know, I don't want to get too deep, but it's maybe like, I disagree with this, but I'm going to do that. It's going to be my decision to do what this director's saying because I can make this work. But either way, what he was saying is that every decision he's made on film and in his movies is he can look back and go, I own it. So he's saying good, bad, or ugly, whether it sucked, whether it was good, it was my decision. Now, that's not Tom Cruise being selfish with his talent. He's not slighting all of us. What he's doing is saying, I'm going to give everything I have and feel good about myself. And that's where I think I'm going to land this plane, is that what Brad Pitt misses is that these guys want to sleep well at night. They don't want to be whores. And I know in Hollywood, that's got to be tough to just wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm not going to be a whore, because my God, if ever there were a city where men, women, and alike are willing to just whore themselves out. And I'm not saying that's what Brad Pitt did. I'm not saying, because I like Brad Pitt. I think he's an awesome actor. But I do think that he misses entirely the meaning of Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged, which is, we as individuals we have value, individual value, that the collective can absolutely benefit from. And they benefit the most when we're free to exercise our God-given talents to the best of our abilities, unencumbered, unhindered, and then also, should be appreciated. And when it's not appreciated, whenever it's in fact punished, as is so often the case these days, we should have the right as individuals to tell the collective to F off. I'm out. I won't do it anymore. Because that's what Brad Pitt doesn't mention. Like, again, going back to the Fountainhead, there's a time where Howard Roarke, it wasn't that he's going to keep it to himself. It's like, if nobody appreciates what I'm doing, then screw it. I just won't do it. I will go be a laborer. I will go work beside the men I used to manage as an architect. I'll go work with them because there's dignity in that. At least there's dignity in the hard work, using my hands, and I don't have to compromise. Somewhere there's a balance. I'm not saying that being a Howard Roarke or even being a John Galt is, I would never say that's the absolute right way, but somewhere in the middle is an individual finding their principles to just how far they'll bend before they're willing to say, yeah, no, I'm not just going to step into the matrix and sell my soul. I refuse to do that. And Brad Pitt obviously missed all of that. So that's it. I hope you go pick up The Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged. They're great novels. They're some of my favorites. And with that, this has been another episode of Freestyle Friday. I'm Jason, and I'm out.